Yo there everyone, welcome back to another video here on National Vlog. So today, it's a bit of an interesting video because it's sort of a speculation video slash also the announcement of a removal of an attraction at Paultons Park. Now, obviously, it's the Show Street 4D Cinema. Now, this has been something that I've noticed for a little while, but I've not had time to come around and do a video on it. But most recently, it's been revealed that the Show Street 4D Cinema, which has been at Paultons Park now for 9 seasons, has presumably now ceased operation and is no longer part of the park lineup. Now, this is backed up by multiple facts by the fact that it is no longer listed on the website. As well as that, the fact that no new films have gone in there for a while. The last film that was in there was House of Magic, which went in there, I do believe, just after COVID, or just before COVID, and that was the last film ever to go. So I'm going to sort of be speculating on, what could be going on with it. So for those who do not know, the Show Street 4D Cinema first opened in 2013. It was brand new. It was a brand new attraction. They've never done it before. They've never done a 4D cinema. Obviously, this one opened before Angry Birds 4D at Fort Park, and it was sort of coming off the run of Drayton Manor's 4D cinema, which had been created by the same creative team at the time of SimWorks, who I highly recommend a lot of their 4D films that they distribute and 4D cinema attractions, because I've tried out many of their 4D attractions and they're so much fun, including their one down on the Isle of Wight at the Needles attraction, where their one is a standing up 4D cinema, so that's pretty cool. So yeah, the 4D cinema opened in 2013, and its debut film was The Curse of Skull Rock. Now, The Curse of Skull Rock is personally one of my favourite 4D films I've ever watched. It's so much fun. But anyway, when the 4D cinema was introduced in 2013, it also created sort of a refurbishment of an area of the park. And it led to the introduction of the area called Show Street. Now, Show Street is located in the entrance area of the park. And the 4D cinema, in my opinion, the area it was in was one of my favourite themed areas at the park at the time. It felt very authentic 1950s Art Deco, and its removal opens up a lot of questions on, like, why, because yes, it was relatively quiet just before COVID, but also, like, surely they'd want to keep this running because it's a good family attraction. Now, yeah. So the thing that they did with this 4D cinema is they would normally have two films on during the year. Of course, the first being The Curse of Skull Rock in its opening year, and then changing it for their Christmas event, where the film would go to Sleigh Ride 4D. Once again, one of my favourite 4D films. And then 2014, we got Robin Hood 4D for the main season, and then Sleigh Ride. It would always go back to Sleigh Ride for Christmas, but the main season film would change. Now, I'm not going to lie, as the seasons went on, the main season films started becoming not great. They started dwindling in quality, and for, if I remember correctly, 2 seasons straight, they had I think it was Birds 4D, which was one of the just ridiculous 4D films I've ever watched, and was a film that at one point I then refused to go in there because the film was literally that rubbish. And then, for the Christmas film, it was, it was always fun. It was always quite fun to have Sleigh Ride in, and that would be the only good film of the year. Now, as I mentioned, this 4D cinema has technically only operated on paper for 9 seasons. So obviously, when COVID hit, this was one of those attractions that could not reopen immediately with the park. So we can sort of see that maybe this is where, the nail in the coffin was starting to be put up for the Show Street 4D cinema. Um, Alongside that, its slow dwindle in popularity also had part to play. Like, this cinema was relatively big, and they wouldn't sell, like, there wouldn't be a lot of people in that cinema. Even when they reduced capacity, it just didn't quite work. Um, and I know it did go down for maintenance quite a few times in its last sort of season or so. So whether it was a technical thing or it just can't operate anymore, and it was honestly a real shame. And obviously, I'm really quite surprised that the park decided to make this move. Like, they reopened it post-COVID in 2021, but then this season, um, it was open, I think, for part of this season, and then it's just disappeared off the website. Um, Now, I do know, I think at one point they were using the 4D cinema space as now like or they were adding it to like its what conference area. So like you could have a conference in there, which I feel like that's just not worth utilizing a space like that. That shows that they had plans to shut the thing down. Now this does now open up a lot of questions about what could be happening. Personally, I can't see this. I don't quite get why Paultons had decided to shut down an attraction that, yes, it had a dwindling popularity, but also that's probably because you had the same film for 2 seasons straight, and people want new films. That's what made the 4D cinema great at the start of each season, is that you knew there would be a new film in the cinema. Like, you knew there'd be something new. And the 4D cinema itself, personally, in in my opinion, was and is one of the best themed 4D cinemas in the UK. Like, it has a theme throughout. They did have to make changes throughout the event as well. Throughout its run. They had to put slightly more staff in, as well as they had to slightly update the pre-show and change sound levels and stuff like that. But apart from that, the 4D cinema was always like a lot of fun. I always enjoyed seeing it like in action and getting to experience it. Now, with its closure, now obviously opens up a lot of questions with the space. Will they keep the 4D cinema space there? Obviously, um, I'm gonna attempt to try and get down to Paultons during the Christmas event, and if not, I will get there for the start of the 2023 season. Paultons is one of like the first parks to open in terms of theme parks. Like, they're opening like February. They open in like February every year, and it's always fun seeing that. But what would I like to see with this space? Personally, I would love them to reutilize the cinema in a way. Now, obviously, those who know about Paultons Park's Halloween event, a few years ago, their Halloween event, their Happy Halloween event in 2018, they had a walkthrough. I think it was 2018 and 19. They had a walkthrough like scare attraction for families, which was known as Big Boo Barn, which was really cool. That was down by the teacups in a marquee. They used that for a few years, and then their COVID, it just didn't come back, and they haven't had one back since. Now, I would personally love for Paultons, maybe for their 2023 Halloween event, maybe utilize the cinema space as a scare maze space. Now, I know how cliche this sounds, considering it for park. You've got Trailers, which is a cinema-themed maze. Now, I would love to see Paultons take something like this on, create like a scare attraction that's sort of on the levels of Creepy Caves at Chesington, because anyone who knows this, like, yes, Paultons is a family park, Chesington is a family park, but Chesington has had for the last 6 years one of the most intense scare mazes that are targeted for families, but doesn't feel like a family targeted maze. And I think if Paultons were to reutilize the cinema space, all they would have to do is take out the seats. Like, if you take out the seats, there's a decent amount of space in there for people to experience. Like, you can potentially like put in like maybe 3 or 4 movie scenes in there. And I think it would be pretty cool if like a scare maze was put in there. Like, it's a relatively big space. Like, if you were to take out the rows and the seats, you could use that space pretty well for a maze. So I would hope that Poltons aren't just going to leave that space to be conference, because I don't think that's a good idea. But who knows? Like I say, it is a shame to see the 4D cinema go after 9 seasons, technically 8 seasons, if you want to say that, because you do look at other 4D cinemas in UK theme parks and you see how much longer they've lasted. Angry Birds 4D has currently lasted 8 seasons, so it's coming up and will be going into its 9th season next year. And of course, this means it would have been at the same age, if not younger. It's younger than the Paultons Park 4D cinema. Drayton Manor 4D cinema has been open since 2009. And of course, that is still operating at the moment. They're changing their films very frequently on that. So that's been open a good, 13 years now, going into its 14th season. So it's been running a relatively long time, and I personally cannot see that 4D cinema leaving at any time soon. 4D cinema at the Land's End attraction has been operating for 11 seasons, so has outlived this one by 2 seasons. And of course, the Needles 4D cinema experience is still operating as well, and I do believe that's been operating just less than the cinema at Paultons, but I can't remember exactly. Last time I did it was about 6 years ago, so probably 6, 7 years at least. Yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments, guys, on what are your thoughts about Paultons Park removing their 4D cinema after just 9 seasons. Are you sad to see it go? Personally, I am. It was a relatively big part of my childhood. When it first opened, I was I think 11 and a half when it first opened, or just past the age of 11. So it became a big part of my childhood growing up, going through my teenage years. So that was always quite fun. So it is sad to see an attraction go like this. But obviously, hopefully, if it is going to get replaced with something new, hopefully we get to see something unique, or whether they're taking it out for a season and then bringing it back with a refurb, or will they go with my theory and use it as a maze, a potential maze space for them to create their first ever intense scare maze? Let me know what you guys think in the comment below, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.